Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
DUTERT? Why was a simultaneous translator at the ICC in The Hague pronouncing former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's surname as DUTERT
Mr. Duterte, Mr. Dutertes, Mr. Duterte.
rather than the Spanish-Filipino way, which Filipinos do, which is
Duterte.
Duterte. Duterte.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte.
how did it happen? Well, I've got an answer to that, and it might shock you.
Orion Perez is the Philippines' leading expert in constitutional reform, known for his sharp insights and engaging storytelling. His news approach combines thorough research with a unique conversational style that draws viewers in, bringing both authority and approachability to his anchor role. A polyglot and polymath, Orion was the standout grand finalist on Battle of the Brains Season 1. As a longtime OFW in Singapore, he worked as an IT project manager and tech consultant, gaining deep insights into how countries like Singapore achieved success. His expertise in root cause analysis, honed through his IT career, continues to inform his views. Orion is also the principal co-founder of the Correct movement, advocating for much-needed reforms in the country.
All right, guys, we need your help. I know there's a lot of people who've been sharing and forwarding and spamming our videos to a lot of other friends, but we need your help. We need you guys to follow and subscribe our sites. Please do that. We need your support. Thank you very much. Why was a simultaneous translator at the ICC in The Hague pronouncing former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's surname as DUTERT
Mr. Duterte, Mr. Dutertes, Mr. Duterte, Mr. Duterte, Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Well, I've got an answer to that, and it might shock you. Duterte is a French surname, and Duterte is how it is pronounced in French. You don't believe me? See this one? It is the name of a French person. And this other one as well. There is also this French wine from Bourgogne, or Burgundy as they say in English. And as you can see, it shows Duterte. So the lady translator who is translating French into British English is listening to the French audio feed, and quite obviously, the French-speaking judge is pronouncing Duterte in the native French way, which is Duterte.
I would like to speak to you, Mr. Duterte. I'm speaking French, but you are receiving an interpretation of what I'm saying in English.
So when the simultaneous interpreter translates it into British English, she also says Duterte. I can only guess that, although she speaks perfect English with a British accent, this is perhaps because she might also be a native French speaker who recognizes the Duterte surname as a French surname and thus thinks it should be pronounced the French way rather than the Spanish-Filipino way, which Filipinos do, which is Duterte.
Duterte.
Duterte. Duterte.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte.
You see, the surname Duterte originally comes from Dutertes, two words with a small d. Du means of the, very similar to the Spanish del, which means of the. Tertre means mound or small hill. So Dutertre means of the mound or of the small hill. And there are 4 variations of this surname. Dutertre with a lowercase d, Dutertre with a capital D, Dutertre with a capital D and the 2 words joined together, and finally, Duterte, where the penultimate R was dropped, which is still found in France and even in other places where French people emigrated. But this form of the surname is most commonly found in the Philippines. The first 3 are mostly found in France. How did it happen? The Spaniards recruited a lot of people from all over Europe to join in their sailing crews. Remember how Christopher Columbus was not Spanish, but was actually Genoese Italian? Remember also how Ferdinand Magellan was not Spanish, but was actually Portuguese, and even had an Italian chronicler, Pigafetta, on his crew. That didn't stop. The Spanish crown continued to openly recruit other Europeans with sailing skills and other necessary skills to join their ships and voyages, and many people with non-Spanish surnames did come over and settled in the Philippines and married local women like the Borromeo and Gonzaga clans in the Philippines. both of whose surnames are actually Italian. According to a relative of the Dutertes from Cebu and a local chronicler of Cebu's family histories, Mike Acevedo Lopez, whose grandmother was a Duterte, the first Duterte that came to the Philippines is known to have settled in Cebu sometime in the 1700s. Records don't mention his French background, and it is assumed that, like many Europeans who served the Spanish crown, he had acquired Spanish citizenship so that his early descendants would be referred to as Spanish mestizos. The Dutertes in Cebu continued marrying local women, at times also marrying mestiza sanglay or Chinese mestiza women, and the process continued over the generations so that many Dutertes today obviously no longer look European or French, unless of course someone like Rodrigo Roa Duterte marries a Tisay like Elizabeth Zimmerman so that their children look mestizo. Alors, voilà, je viens de vous expliquer que Duterte est nom de famille français et la prononciation correcte en français, c'est Duterte. Et ça existe encore en France. D'accord? Je m'appelle Orion Perez Dumdum, je ne suis pas français, je suis philippin et c'est PGMN.